Hi, I'm Margaret Lewin and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. Today we're going to be making this block, which is called our Friendship Star Block. It's a great block. It's made with half square triangles and squares, and it's a nice simple one. Didn't take me long at all to put it together, and if you'd like to see how I put it together, stick around and I'll show you how. Today we're going to be working on the Friendship Star Block, and we need fabrics 9, 19, and 5 to make this block. I have pressed all of these, and I did use my Mary Ellen's Best Press on all of them. So they are all nice, flat, and straight. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to line them up one at a time. I'm going to remove these other two. I'm only going to work with one fabric at a time. So I'll slide these over. All right, I've set aside my other pieces, and the very first piece that we're going to work with is number 5. So the first thing I'm going to do is just try to get this piece as straight as I can so that I am cutting it correctly. And it looks like I'm doing pretty good. Maybe just a little bit of a scooch over. And again, what I'm checking here is my fabrics to make certain that they are straight. You can look at the prints right on your fabric and see, just pick a spot and see if they're measuring out straight or in a straight line, and see mine are. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is take my Creative Grids 8.5 by 24.5 inch ruler, and I'm just going to square this piece up based on what I've got in front of me. And that looks pretty good. And I've lined it up across here and up here. All right. And there's my piece. Now, our very first block calls for 2 different sizes. So what I'm going to do is pick the bigger of the 2 sizes and make my first cut. Then I'll subcut from there in the smaller sizes. So here I am, and I am lining it up, and I'm going to make my first cut. Alright, I am going to save that little piece because I may end up doing something with it. Then I'm going to take my fabric and I'm going to turn it. I'm okay folding that little piece over. And I'm just going to line it up on my board so that I can first get rid of the selvage. Which I've now done. Selvage is gone. I'm not picking up my fabric, I'm picking up the piece I cut off. And now I'm going to make my cuts based on what I need. The first cut, I need 2 of them. And so I've got 2 here. I've doubled my layer. So I'm just going to line this piece up, make a cut, and I'm going to set this piece aside. That's our very first piece. And the next one, we need 4 pieces. So I'm going to slide this down, still lining it up. Okay. And now I'm going to make my second cut, which I'll need 4 of. So I'm going to line this up again. Now notice I try not to move my fabric as much as I can. I don't want it moving around a whole lot. So there's that one. Then I'm going to just slide this over just a little bit, and I'll do my second cut. And lining it up again. And there's my other cut. This piece I'm saving. Put it with some of my other fabrics here. And I'm going to set this back into my pile of fabrics. Now I need to make one more cut. So I'm going to turn this one sideways because these need to be squares. Right now they're rectangles. I'm going to line it up. And again, remember, you're using more than one point on your fabric to line it up. So I'm lining it up, going to make a cut. This is scraps. Set this up here, and I need to do the same thing here. And then at this point, we will have our first fabrics cut. Now, a lot of you have asked that I show the cutting of everything. So in this video, I will show you how I cut everything, but what I'm gonna do is speed it up, okay? So this is my pile. I'm gonna get these together and I'm gonna set these way over here so that they're out of the way. And I'm gonna slide my color 19 over, and I will start using that one and cut the pieces. And then in the meantime, I'm gonna speed this video up so that you can see what I'm doing, and I also don't bore everybody. So hang on just a second. I will get this all straightened around. I'm gonna remove my number 19, make sure I'm good and flat, square it up, and then I'm gonna start cutting my pieces. Alright, I've got all my pieces cut and they are the way they belong. Yep. I have to draw a line. I'm gonna grab my friction pen, or Frixion pen. This is the lighter of the two fabrics, so I'm gonna draw it on those. I'm gonna turn them wrong side up. I'm gonna grab a ruler. Whoops, that one's not quite long enough. Grab one that's a little bit longer. And I'm going to draw from one corner to the other. So right through here. And I'm doing that on both sides. Or on both fabrics, I guess I should say. Now once I've done that, I'm going to line these up with the fabric number 19, I think that is. Nope. I'm going to line it up with fabric number 9. So I'm taking 5 and 9 and putting these two together. And I'm going to pin on each side. Pinning it just really keeps it together, especially when I'm transferring it from one spot to the other. And again, I'm going to grab fabric 9 and fabric 5, and I'm going to do the same thing. Then I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew my 1/4 inch seam. Now, if you're a little bit concerned about your 1/4 inch seam, what my suggestion to you is to sew a smaller 1/4 inch seam. Reason being is we're going to be squaring these up. And squaring up, if your 1/4 inch is off, and if you sew a smaller 1/4 inch seam, you're going to be able to square your block up to the size that it truly needs to be. So I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch away from each side of the drawn line. And then I'll come back and what we're going to do is cut these apart, and we are also going to square them up. I'll be right back. All right, I've sewn them. Next thing I'm going to do is cut these apart. And I'm just using my Karen K. Buckley scissors. I like these because they have this nice little, almost like a sawtooth that really grabs the fabric. So I really do like these. Then next I'm gonna grab my wool mat and we're gonna set our seams and then we're gonna press. And I have to take a look at the block so I can figure out which way I want to press this. All right, so hang on just a second. Here's my wool pressing mat. Let's see, I've got my fabric kind of tucked underneath there. Let's move those aside. And then I'm gonna grab my iron. Do you guys get like this, where you've got 50 million things around you while you're trying to sew? Because I gotta tell you, I do all the time. All right. I've got my wool pressing mat and I've got my pieces. The first thing I'm going to do is set my seams. It's always the very first thing you do. Set those seams so that you are ready to go. once I've set my seams, I want to look at the picture and see. Okay, these are going to, let's see what's going to happen. If I press these towards the dark, what's going to happen is I'm going to have a lot of bulk right here because I'm going to get all of the fabrics. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to press these seams open. So this is my first step. I'll do this to all of them. Just press them all, set those seams so that we've got these beautiful blocks at the end. One more. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my strip stick and I'm going to lay my pieces right over it. I'm going to open them up and I just finger press them down. What I'm doing is I'm just pushing against the seam in the center and drawing my fingers out. And then I'm going to take my iron and I'm just going to press it again. Now look at how pretty that is. Let me set this aside and look. Doesn't that look nice? Now I'm going to press it one last time. Well, not one last time because knowing me, I'll be pressing it a lot more. And then I'm just going to set it aside. I'll set it right over here. I think you can still see it. Grab my strip stick and let's do the next one. Now if you have the 22-inch strip stick, you could line a couple of them up on here and do one right after the other. I find it just as easy just to do one at a time. You know, I count this as this is my quiet time doing this. So I'm going to press and then move my way down. Now you can see I missed a spot there. So what I'm going to do is just come back and watch how this strip stick does this. Look at this. Isn't this cool? It just opens it up and lays it flat. I'll try to zoom right in on that spot so that you can see. Now that I've done that, I'm going to grab my ruler and we are going to square these up. Okay, I'm going to square this one up to where it needs to be, and we've got plenty of fabric on this one to square up because I did do a really scant 1/4 inch seam. So let me grab my rotary cutter. And I'm going to square this up. And remember, when I was squaring up, when I do that, I use my 45-degree line and then the outside. So I'm going to rotate this. Try to get this iron a little bit farther away from me. And now I'm lining up at the bottom on both my sides and on my 45-degree. Did I miss a spot? Nope. Now we'll line these pretty little things up. Alright, it's time to lay out our block. We're going to start with this beautiful fabric in the center. And then we're going to start adding. And the first thing I'm going to add are my beautiful half square triangles that make me just so happy. I love those. I love all the different looks a half square triangle can give. Now I'm going to double check and make sure that I'm right, and I'm not. This one belongs like this. Always double check your patterns, because I have to tell you, as much as I love my beautiful seam ripper, I'd really rather not use it. Here we go. Here's another block almost done. Isn't this pretty? All right, I'm going to take this right over to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew like I always do. I love to take a block and make it just feel like a gorgeous 9 patch, and that's what I've got going here. So I'm going to sew my 3 rows together as a row. Let me slide these all down pretty. So I'll sew these 2 together, then I'll add this one. These 2, add this one. These 2, add this one. Once I get that done, I am going to press my seams open again. Okay, remember I pressed all of these open. Then I'm going to sew my 3 rows together, and then we have a finished block. I'll be back in just a minute with our finished Friendship Star block. Here is my completed block number 9, which is a Friendship Star block. So here's the front of it. I'm going to flip it over and show you how I pressed it. And you can see on this side, I have pressed all of my seams open. It is something that, as you can tell, I do quite frequently. This will allow me, when I'm quilting it, to really not have to worry about the hopping foot catching anything, and it should make it really easy to quilt, whether I hand quilt it, quilt it on my domestic machine, or quilt it on my long arm. So that is our block. Whoop, I got some threads. That is my block number 9. Thanks so much for staying all the way to the end while I put together our Friendship Star block, which just happens to be block number 9 in our springtime sampler. This fabric is Robin Pickens fabric. It's called Painted Meadow, and it is produced by Moda Fabrics. It's a beautiful collection of fabrics, and I am really enjoying getting to play with these, putting this quilt together. If you like this video and would like to see more like this, please do give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do join our Facebook group, which is also Margaret Lewin Quilting. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel here, please do so. It really does help me out. Hopefully you'll stick around at my channel, and next we will be working on our Sawtooth Star block. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I'll see you again really soon. Bye.